Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashyakritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaye Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Om Namah Pranavarthaye Shuddha-jnanaikamurtaye Nirmalaya Prashantaye Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Om Sahanavavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Asino Duram Brajati
आसीनो दूरं व्रजति
Ayano Yati Sarvatah
शयानो याति सर्वतः
Kastam Madamadam Devam
तस्तं मदामदं देवं
Madanyo Yatumarhati
मदन्यो ज्ञातुमर्हति
Bashyam Anyata Durvigneyaha எங்க இருக்கும் முன்னாடி இருக்கும் it probably uses an introduction to this अन्यथा दुर्विज्ञेयः
अन्यथा दुर्विज्ञेयः
यम् आत्मा
यम् आत्मा
कामिभिः
कामिभिः
प्राकृतपुरुषैः
प्राकृतपुरुषैः
यस्मात् the verse itself, the mantra itself, asino duravadati ityadi. Asinah avasthitah
दूरम
अवस्थितः
achala eva san
अचल एव सन्
duram brajati
दूरं व्रजति
asinah. Before that, he connects the previous mantra, saying, if one does not fulfill the conditions required for knowing, anyatha, this knowledge is not easy to gain. We've seen this over and over again. It is not easy to gain. We can also understand it logically that it is not easy to gain because we are, as humans, not used to anything other than gaining knowledge of objects. And when it comes to gaining the correct knowledge of the self, it just doesn't happen naturally. So, anyatha means no, otherwise, not fulfilling the conditions given earlier. Akritaha ityadi. This Atma, which is Anoraniyan, Mahato Mahiyan, etc., which looks as if the statements are contradictory statements, paradoxes, is difficult to understand. You know, Maya, it is difficult. Once you understand, it becomes very easy. It's like solving those puzzles, Till you know the answer, it looks impossible. Only recently I saw one puzzle where in one shape, this is a triangle, but can be any shape. Every piece fits perfectly. There is no additional space at all left. And there's one small extra piece. In the same space, you can rearrange them and the extra piece also fits and you get the same shape, same size, not bigger. Sounds incredible. To our logical mind, it doesn't gel easily. But once you know how to do it, you know it can be done even if you don't know the logic behind it. this jnanam is not available so easily because people are not prepared. For them, it is in fact, I would say, impossible almost. That is why bulk of humanity will not get this knowledge. At any given point of time, they might get it later. But by the time there will be a whole lot of other people who won't get it. So at any point of time, 99.9% of the people are not ready for this knowledge. Therefore, durvigyeha. Because they are kamibihi, prakrita purushaihi, therefore they cannot get it. Why? Because it is paradoxical, if such a word exists. Paradoxical. Paradox, I know, but paradoxical. Asino duram vrajati. Sitting in one place, it goes far. Remember, we are talking about still in third person. Asino duram vrajati, as if it is something else. But eventually we have to know that it is I. Shayano yati sarvatra. Sarvataha. While lying down, it is everywhere. Not easy to know. Kastam madamadam devam madanyo myatum arhati. They are not ready for this knowledge. That's why Bhashyakara says, asinaha avasthitaha sthadatu sthitaha avasthitaha, except even from not moving, staying in the same place. Avasthitaha, if I makes it clearer, achala evasan, being achala. Chala is to move about. Achala evasan, being non-moving. You should add although being non-moving. Asinaha, sitting. As dhatu. We have seen words like paryupasate, also comes from the same as dhatu. Where have we seen paryupasate? In the Bhagavad Gita.
Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah, in the Bhagavad Gita.
Dvadashyadhyaya.
Ninth chapter.
Dvadashyadhyaya.
Ninth chapter. Ye jana paryupasate tesham yogakshemam vahamiham. Paryupasate, same thing. But with a upasarga there, it means to worship. But here, as is to sit in one place. Dhatu as itself means to sit. Therefore, avasthitaha, sthadatu here, ava purva sthadatu, indicating unmoving, sitting in one place. Achala evasan, duram rajati. Having emphasized so much saying that just sitting in one place, then you say it goes far. How can you understand something like this? How can something be sitting in one place and yet going everywhere? The only equivalent you can think of in our normal range of knowledge is space. That gives us a clue. Sitting in one place, being unmoving, space is everywhere. Within the experiences that we have, space is everywhere. Oh, you say asino duro. It's not as if there is a form which is sitting. There is no form. Like space has no form. Therefore, you just have to understand that Atma we are trying to understand is here and there. Purnam adaha purnam ida. Here also is Purna, there also is Purna, because it's fullness. There is nothing else. Therefore, when you make statements like this, Asino Duram Brajati, sitting in one place, goes everywhere. Duram itself is very relative. Movement is relative. Distance is relative. Because that's the way we see things in this Jagat. How are you going to say space is far away? Space is near. Space is everywhere. Space is space, period. Asinaha avasthitaha achala eva sanna duram brajati. What goes far? This is the important point to understand. There is upadhi. Mind as upadhi. We think of the mind going somewhere. We saw also in Ishavasya Upanishad last time. Similar thoughts. That which is ejati, anejati, stays and yet goes. Only way you can conceive of it is like that. That everything is that only. Then here, there, far, near have no meaning. Can you say space is very far away? Can you say space is near? Space is both. Very far away and very near. So even within the context of our experiences, we have some example to understand this, both near and far. Duram is relative. But here we are not even talking relative. We are saying it is near and yet very far. It is unmoving and yet it is elsewhere as well. Pure magic. Maya. Because we don't understand, that's all. Maya is also looks baffling only as long as we don't understand. When we understand, Maya becomes very simple. And we become Mayin. And then there is another statement here, which is very interesting. Shayano yati sarvataha. Lying down, it is everywhere. To us, the concept of lying down means in one place you lie down. You lie down either in your bed or on the sofa. You don't lie down on both even. That much even is not there. But lying down, you are everywhere. We have an imagery of Mahavishnu lying down and just in one place. And yet, Mahavishnu sustains the entire Jagat. How can he do that? He is the entire Jagat. It sustains the entire Jagat. These are stories. But when you look into it, it is exactly the same thing. In fact, I have read somewhere Purana stories where it talks about Parvati telling him, not Parvati, whatever the counterpart of Vishnu is, telling him, wow, what are you doing here lying down? How are you going to maintain the world? The story is about that also. Shayanaha yati sarvataha. It pervades, goes everywhere, is everywhere. Actually, the correct word to use is everywhere. Although the word yati comes from the dhatu, ya dhatu. Yati, goes, to go. From where I suppose you get words like yatra, yatri, yata yata. All those words which you use Day to day comes from the same dhatu, ya. Ya, to go. So this shayanaha yati sarvataha pervades everything, is everything. This Atma, described in this kind of double speak, correct? It is double speak, no? It, to us, on the surface, it makes no sense. It's not logical. That is why people who think I'm a rationalist find it very difficult. It's a fact. The same rope may be seen by different people depending on their orientation as a snake, as a streak of water, as a crack on the floor. But rope remains rope, unchanging. Why is that? That is, one is higher order of reality, one is a lower order of reality. One is, in this case, satyam, which is the rope, and everything else is mithya projection. In the same way, the whole jagat is only mithya projection. By and by, we will add that this mithya projection includes my body, mind, sense complex. Therefore, whatever I thought I was becomes mithya. Not becomes, is mithya. And that is to be understood only by sentences like this. Asino duram brajati shayano yati sarvataha. Paradox number 2 and paradox number 3 if you want. Paradox number 1 was what we did last time. Anuraniyan mahato mahiyan. Size has no meaning. Form has no meaning. Distance has no meaning. Space has no meaning. All of them are projections, karya, originating from this one Atma. Space also means time. Everything is time bound. What we have, any object at time t1 is not the same object at time t2. It may look the same. That's why when a plant is growing up or a child is growing up, the one who is watching every day can't see the growth. But somebody who sees that after a long gap says, oh, how much you've grown. Change is taking place in everything. We will see in the next verse also similar concept is developed. Shayanaha yati sarvataha. Evam asau atma
Evam sau atma
devaha madamadaha samadaha amadascha
samadaha
saharshaha aharshahascha
aharshaha
viruddha dharmavan.
viruddha dharma
Sau atma, this atma, which is self-revealing, self-effulgent, devaha. Only that which is self-effulgent can be read like this. Self-revealing can be read like this. Because he says that Atma, Mada Madam, Madaha Amadaha. Mada is happiness. He's happy and unhappy at the same time. My God, what a statement to make. If somebody tells you that I can be like that because I'm happy being unhappy. How can you be happy being unhappy? You're either happy or you're unhappy. Maybe I like being unhappy. If you like being unhappy, then you should be happy, no? Mada madam. Madaha amadascha. Samadaha amadascha. At the same time, happy and unhappy. Saharshaha aharshascha. We remember in one of the earlier verses we read, Matva dhiro harshashokau jahati. Here only. Matva dhiraha harshashokau jahati. He gives up not only shoka, but also harsha. Why? Why would anybody want to give up harsha? Doesn't give up harsha or shoka or anything. There is no harsha, there is no shoka. It is all part of the same mithya jagat. All opposites are part of the mithya jagat. Therefore, the statement we saw earlier, I think in this valli only, matva dhira, matva, knowing this atma, yatva, dhira purushaha, that knowledgeable person, harsha shokau jahati, is neither happy nor unhappy. Happiness, unhappiness are modification of the mind. Atma cannot have any modification. It is avikaraha. Therefore, harsha shokam jahati. The entire opposites and the range, everything in this opposite is given up by the dhira purusha. Many places in Bhagavad Gita this comes, and sometimes when we read it the first time, we don't get this. Because we look at a moksha aspirant. You know, in second chapter, the Bhagavan says, no, when he asks him, who is the Purusha, who is what is the word he uses? Sithaprajna. There also he says, Sithaprajna is one who is unaffected by the opposites. So in the world also it is true, because I am a aspirant of moksham, and therefore I have looked at a lot of things. Through my early stages of jnanam, opposites do not affect me much. Therefore, I don't behave like a yo-yo. Today high, tomorrow low. Today high, tomorrow low. I don't have that. So it is true. But the dhira purusha has nothing to do with high or low or harsha or shoka. So you can reread that now. I don't know if I can locate that verse. Sukha dukhe same kritva labha labha jaya jayau. Hey Arjuna, treat them as equal. So at the level of an aspirant, you're still doing that. Therefore, you will not see a big difference between the aspirant and the person who is actually already a jnani. Bhagavan advises Arjuna to go and fight the war by treating sukha, dukkha and labha, labha in the same way as equals. For the jnani, there is no sukha, there is no dukha, there is no labha, there is no alabha. All of these belong to either the mind or the body. Therefore, when you make statement like asino duram brajati shayano yati sarvatha, you're talking about another higher order of reality. It's not the same. Therefore, devaha, madaha, amadaha, sa madaha, amadascha, sa harshaha, aharshascha, viruddha dharmavan. Yeah, unaffected. There is no, the viruddha is not there at all because neither exists. You have neither harsha nor shoka. Harsha shoka jahati. He's given it up. He is not being affected. Not affected at the level of still, I would say, an aspirant. But the jnani, he still has a sharira. He still has, sharira will go through pain and pleasure, harsha and shoka. The body, mind, sense complex will go through all that. But the one who has recognized the nature of I recognizes that I is neither harsha nor shoka. That statement is very important. Matva dhira harsha shokau jahati. So wherever it says shokau jahati, shokam jahati, you should take it as both are gone for the jnani. Ataha ashakyatvat jnatum together. Ataha jnatum ashakyatvat taha tam madamadam devam madanyah jnatum arhati. How can a person other than I, meaning other than a person who's understood, who's a jnani, how can such a person who is not prepared, who is still a kamibihi, who are all still kamibihi, how can they ataha ashakyatvat, jnatum ashakyatvat? Our mind is so conditioned to these opposites. Dvanda. Therefore, you hear Atma is dvandvatitaha. Because our mind is so conditioned, this is jnatum ashakyatvat. Not possible to know. Who can understand this? Who has the capability to understand this? Jnatum arhati. This kaha jnatum arhati. Who can understand this? What kind of thing? Tam madamadam devam. That self-revealing, which looks like it is over, it is transcends madaha and amadaha, which to us is an impossibility. How will I know then? He uses the word mat anyaha, other than I or other than people like me who have understood the truth of the Atma. Mat anyaha. That means, like Lord Yama also at one time didn't know, he said himself. That's why he got this position of Yama Dharmaraja. Because he did whatever he needed to go to a Devaloka. He must have done some karma and upasana and gone to Devaloka, but he has understood. So like me, people who have understood, other than them, nobody else can know. Ataha ashakyatvat jnatum kaha. Who can, word in the form of a question, kaha tam madamadam devam jnatum arhati. Mat anyaha kaha. Other than I, other than people like me. Bhashyakara explains that it's not a literal translation of saying, when I read some of these Bhashyakara's Bhashyam, I'm amazed at the perception of this young, amazing person. Otherwise, literally, what does it mean? I can understand, you can't understand. Mattaha anya. Bhashyakara explains it. Asmadeva, no, asmadehe eva,
अस्मदादेः
asmadadehe eva,
अस्मदादेः एव
Panditasya sukshma buddhehe
पण्डितस्य
सूक्ष्मबुद्धेः
kasyachit suvijneyah
कश्चित् सुविज्ञेयः
ayamatma
अयम्
ayamatma kasyachit panditasya sukshma buddhehe asmadedeheva eva. People like me, devaha asmad, adehe eva. Asmad adehe eva. People like me who have made the effort, who have a sukshma buddhi, sharp, we all have sthula buddhi and sukshma buddhi, and to understand, recognize sukshma things and recognize very subtle things. But here, this knowledge, we need even sharper buddhi, very special buddhi, which can be developed. Yes? Panditasya sukshma buddhehe sam kasyachit ayamatma svigneya. For some buddhi which is developed, which has become perceptive, which has got all the qualifications of a adhikari, can recognize this. We have discussed this before also. This buddhi is also part of the mithya jagat. In the same mithya jagat buddhi, the buddhi has to understand that the buddhi is non-self-existent. What a statement. As why, therefore, in some places it says, this jnanam that arises, first it is vritti jnanam in the world. It takes away the ajnanam, but it also goes. What is left is only jnapti, jnadhatu artha. And that for that a drishtanta is given, like when you have suspended particles in water, you put, in these days we use alum, that collects all the suspended particles and itself also disappears. Kataka in Sanskritam. That jnanam that disappears is the jnanam which is our normal jnanam that we know, which removes the jnanam, that also goes. What is left is only that lakshyartha of the word jnanam in Satyam Jnanam Anantam. In that 3 words, they are not descriptive. But we still have to understand. Therefore, we need to read into it the Lakshartha. Jnanam is Satyam. It is not the Satyam that we understand here as opposite to Anritam. It is not Anandam as we understand Harsha. Harsha Shoko Jahati, that also goes. That Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, all 3 indicate the same thing. They are only Lakshyartha of the words. And all 3 indicate the same thing. Atma, Brahman, Om, I, everything. Asmadedehe eva sukshma buddhehe panditasya kasyachit suvigneyaha. Suvigneyaha. Earlier he said, this Atma is durvigneyaha. Very difficult to understand. Here it becomes easy to understand. Suvigneyaha. Because it's a well-prepared mind, it's an adhikari mind. It is able to see this difference between that jnanam, ajnanam as against what we are talking about, another order of reality, jnadhatvartha, between satyam and anritam and the satyam we are talking about for the definition of the Atma. Anandam and shokam, against that ananda swarupa of the Atma. Some early stages, this is difficult to understand. I have gone through the same problem myself. When I was first told that Atma is Ananda Swarupa, I am Ananda Swarupa, mind cannot go beyond this Dvandva. So we think, okay, the extreme level of Ananda. And therefore, people will use words like bliss because they can't find a better word. It is not bliss. Ananda Swarupa transcends Ananda and Anananda. It's neither Ananda nor Ananda. It is what sustains Ananda and Ananda. Therefore, I like the phrase, Matva Dhiro Harsha Shoka Jahati. Pandita se Sukshma Buddhehe Kasyachit Suvigneyaha Ayamatma Suvigneyaha is relatively easy to understand. Sthiti Gati. Can you put it back on?
Sthiti Gati,
Nitya Nityadi
Nityadi,
Viruddha Aneka Dharma Upadhitvat
Viruddha Aneka Dharma Upadikatvat,
Viruddha Dharmavatvat
Yuddha
Viruddha Dharma,
Vishwarupaha iva
Vishwarupaha iva,
Chintamanivat
Chintamanivat,
Avabhasate.
Avabhasate.
Times it appears, it seems to reveal itself as what? As Sthiti, Gati, Nitya, Anitya Adi, Viruddha Aneka Dharma Upaditvat, Viruddha Dharmatvat, Vishwarupaha iva, Chintamanivat. Chintamani is a mythical gem of some kind, which becomes what you think it should be. It's like, let's look at the word upadhi. We know an upadhi because it is close to the other object. seems to imbue that object with its own characteristics. Classic example, crystal in the background of a different colored fabric, different colors of various things. It seems to take on that color of the upadhi without any change to itself. Now, once we understand upadhi, he says, viruddha aneka dharma upaditvat, viruddha dharmatvat, being upadhi being there and upadhi having all kinds of range of opposites, if that dharma, if that characteristic is superimposed on Atma, Atma appears to have that viruddha dharma. Chintamani is a stone. The money is a stone, is a gem. Oh, there was an ad for ICICI. I don't know if you remember seeing that. It says what? No chinta, only money. Chintamani. They used to advertise for, I think, their fixed deposit or something like that. No chinta, only money. Chintamani vat. Because the upadhis are at different levels, different states. So if you take mind as an upadhi, or everything is an upadhi, Sharira is a upadhi. Sharira seems to move from place A to place B. Wherever it goes, Atma is there. That's slow. But mind, my God, much faster. In fact, science says the fastest, nothing can be faster than light. Light also takes finite time to come from a star to this earth. Mind, instant. You're sitting here, you're on the moon. But even that mind, and we've studied this in Ishavasyopanishad, even that mind which can go so fast from one place to another, when it goes there, Atma is still there. I just left you there. How come you're here? Atma is there. Because space is not a constraining factor for Atma. There is no parichinna. Desha parichinna is not there. Space cannot contain Atma. Atma has space in it. Atma, all sizes belong to Atma. All other things also, everything is only Atma. Atma is none of them. Atma is not big, small, but big, small are Atma. Atma is not Harsha, Shoka. Harsha, Shoka are Atma. You cannot have Harsha, Shoka without Atma. Ajnanam, Jnanam, they are all Atma, but Atma is neither Ajnanam nor Jnanam. This Atma is what you're trying to understand. So it says Sthiti, Gati, being in one place and movement, this is the opposite. Nitya, Anitya, that way it looks permanent and it doesn't look permanent. A mountain looks permanent to us in this Jagat, whereas a thought looks completely impermanent. Nitya, Anitya, Adi, Viruddha, Aneka, Dharma, Upadhitva, they're all Upadhi only. This, all these duals, in fact, they're ranges, they're not even duals. There's a whole lot of them in between. Like time. There's the range, there's the past, there's the now and the present and the future. There's a here and there's a there. All of them are opposites in a whole range. Because of this kind of upadhi dharma, therefore, viruddha dharmavatvad, vishwarupahaiva, multiple visions, if you want. Arjuna saw everything that in the Vishwarupa. Chintamanivat avabhasate. It seems to appear as everything. That Atma seems to appear as everything. Vishwarupa iva. Chintamanivat. Chintamani itself doesn't change. But the observer sees what he wants to see. Avabhasate. Ataha
अतः
durvigyeyatvam
दुर्विज्ञेयत्वं
darshayati
दर्शयति
kastam madanyah jnatumarhati iti.
कस्तं मदन्यो ज्ञातुमर्हति इति.
Therefore, this sentence here, kastam mat anyah jnatumarhati. Who other than I is capable of understanding this? That demonstrates the durvigneyam. It is not something durvigneyatvam, the ness of durvigneyam. That which is not available easily for knowing. Because to us, knowing means knower, object of knowing, and process of knowing. That is what we understand. But here is something which is none of them. All of them are this Atma. Therefore, we say, when you look at it from the perspective of the Atma, there is no differentiation between Jnatra, Jneyam, and Jnanam. Between the knower, knowledge, and object of knowledge. Between hearing, object of hearing, and the hearer. Anything you take. Because this range, this dvandva, belongs to the order of reality which we call mithya, which itself is non-self-existing and therefore points to Satyam, the adhishthanam for everything here. Therefore, durvigneyam. Ataha durvigneyatvam darshyati. Atmanaha durvigneyatvam. The durvigneyatvam of the Atma darshayati. It shows. What shows? Kastam madanyaha jnatum arhati. What shines in so many different ways, has so many different opposites, but is only one. Unchanging, partless, only ekameva advitiyam. Seems to be shining, reflected as multiple ranges, multiple dvandva. That's what is illustrated by the sentence, kastam idam madamadam devam mat anyaha jnatum arhati. to show the durvigneyatvam of the Atma. Atma looks like Viruddha Dharmavan. It is not. There is no dharma in the Atma. Dharma has many meanings. And here one meaning is the quality of. Only our former Prime Minister also used this very effectively by saying in the Parliament that I have to live by the coalition dharma. I don't know how many of you remember his statement. I can't forget it. I can't digest it all. And what is the coalition dharma according to him? Allow coalition partners do what they want. Loot the country. Coalition dharma. Come on. That is the nature of understanding. Not that jnanam we think of as jnanam as opposite of ajnanam. Remember, that's how we start. We say the ajnanam is there, we don't know, we have to remove the ajnanam. The only way to remove the ajnanam is by bringing in jnanam. All that is valid. Like you remove the suspended particles by bringing in kataka. But the kataka also has to go. When we light a camphor to reveal the Lord, when the Gurukul shows, when you do Aarti, you switch off all the lights. Anyway, there's our sanctorum is dark. There are no windows. There are no lights. The only thing you light it with is a camphor. Light as a camphor. And you show the camphor top to bottom. And it tells everybody, Parungo, please see Bhagavan, the Rupa of Bhagavan. And that also goes. The camphor light also goes. That Nya Dhatu Artha is saying is difficult to understand. Unless you have gone through the whole rigmarole, the whole process with a prepared mind, with a mind which has been readied, which has got all the requirements fulfilled, Viveka, Vairagya, Shamadamadi, Shatka Sampatti, and most important, Mumukshutvam, with such a mind thoroughly prepared, which is willing to go through the process of Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, without going through the entire process, Durvigneyam Atma. We will continue tomorrow. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashyate Om
Om
Shanti
Shanti Shanti
Shanti
Shanti
Harihi
Hari
Om Shri
Shri
Gurubhyo
Guru
Namaha